Most football fans would laugh at this idea. The United States winning the World Cup?
Seriously.
Seriously. To millions of football fans around the world, that sentence sounds ridiculous, almost offensive. A country where soccer used to sit behind football, basketball, baseball, even college sports, suddenly lifting the biggest trophy in world sport? No chance. That's what they say. No football history, no football culture, no football DNA. And honestly, for a long time, they were right. But here's the uncomfortable question nobody really wants to answer. What if 2026 is different? What if, for the first time in modern football history, America actually has a path? Not a fantasy, not a Disney movie, a real path. And that possibility, that is exactly why football fans hate this conversation. Because this isn't just football, this is identity. To traditional football nations, the World Cup belongs to countries that live and breathe the game. Brazil, Argentina, Germany, France, nations where football isn't entertainment, it's culture, religion, family history. And then there's America, the country many football fans still mock. Soccer. That word alone starts arguments. For decades, the USMNT felt like outsiders at football's biggest table, sometimes competitive, occasionally dangerous, but never truly feared, never a favorite, never the country everyone circled and said, yeah, they could actually win this. Until now. Because quietly, while much of the football world wasn't paying attention, something changed. And before anyone gets angry, no, this is not a prediction that the United States will win the 2026 World Cup. That would be reckless. France exists. Argentina exists. England will somehow convince people it's finally their year again. And Brazil? Brazil is Brazil. But football history teaches us something dangerous. World Cups are chaos. Pure chaos. Nobody expected Croatia to reach a final. Nobody predicted Morocco making history. Nobody thought Argentina would lose to Saudi Arabia and still win the entire thing. Every World Cup creates madness. And in chaos, impossible things suddenly stop looking impossible. So let's start with the biggest reason people are even having this conversation: home soil. Because hosting a World Cup changes everything. And history proves it. Teams hosting the tournament almost always overperform. The crowd matters, the energy matters, the pressure shifts. Refereeing moments feel different. Momentum feels different. Familiar weather, familiar travel, familiar training environments, even emotionally. Players rise differently when an entire nation is watching. And America? America is about to host the biggest World Cup in history. 48 teams, massive stadiums, sold out crowds, wall to wall media attention. For one summer, football becomes unavoidable, and that matters more than people think. But here's where skeptics push back: home advantage doesn't make you champions. Fair point. Qatar hosted, didn't matter. Russia hosted, didn't win. South Africa hosted, didn't even make noise. So hosting alone, not enough. Which brings us to the real reason this conversation suddenly feels dangerous: the player generation. Because for the first time in USMNT history, America actually has talent, real talent, European level talent, players growing up inside elite football systems, not college pipelines, not late developers switching sports, actual footballers, kids developed in Germany, England, Italy, the Netherlands, and suddenly the talent gap, it's shrinking fast. Think about this generation. Christian Pulisic carrying pressure few American players have ever faced. Weston McKennie bringing intensity and edge. Tyler Adams giving balance and leadership. Gio Reyna carrying enormous upside. This isn't a perfect squad, but it's different. For years, America had athletes. Now, they finally have footballers. And yes, that sentence will start arguments. But talent alone doesn't win World Cups. Identity does. And this might be the most underrated part of the entire conversation. Because for decades, the USMNT had a weird football identity. Hardworking, physical, organized, but rarely feared creatively, rarely dangerous technically. Sometimes it felt like the team was trying to survive games instead of control them. But recently there's been a shift. More possession, more tactical confidence, more willingness to press, more belief. Not world class yet, but evolving. And evolution matters, because international football moves fast. Sometimes one tactical leap changes everything. Now here comes the twist nobody talks about enough: pressure. And strangely, pressure may hurt the favorites more than America. Because imagine being France. Anything less than the semifinals feels disappointing. Argentina? Massive expectations. England? The pressure alone could crush a stadium. But the United States? Nobody expects them to win. That makes them dangerous. Because sometimes in football, belief grows quietly. One upset, then another. Suddenly confidence spreads. The crowd gets louder. The dream gets bigger. And before anyone realizes what's happening, momentum takes over. That is how impossible runs happen. But there's one problem. One massive problem. And it could ruin everything. Experience. Because talent is one thing. Winning ugly knockout football? Different universe. World Cups are brutal. One mistake and you're gone. One bad half, and the dream dies. Penalty shootouts. Momentum swings. Veteran composure. Mental toughness. This is where traditional football giants still have a huge edge. They've lived these moments. America? Still learning. And if we're being realistic, that matters a lot. Because let's say the US makes a quarterfinal. Crowd exploding. Pressure unimaginable. 90 minutes away from history. Can they stay calm? Can they survive a football nation built for those moments? Can they handle penalties? Can they survive one genius moment from a global superstar? That's where dreams usually end. And honestly, that's why people still doubt them. Not because America lacks talent. Because winning the World Cup is unbelievably hard. Maybe the hardest thing in sports. But here's the emotional truth Americans secretly want to believe. For the first time, this dream doesn't sound insane anymore. Unlikely? Absolutely. Difficult? Extremely. But impossible? No, not anymore. And maybe that's what scares football fans the most. Because if the United States, a country once mocked for caring too little about football, actually becomes a real contender, the entire sport changes. Money changes, culture changes, power changes, and suddenly the football world people grew up knowing looks completely different. That possibility alone, it makes people uncomfortable. So, here's the verdict. Will the USMNT win the 2026 World Cup? Probably not. Let's be honest. The favorites are favorites for a reason. But could they make a shocking run? Could they ride home energy, momentum, young talent, tactical growth, and chaos? For the first time in modern football history, yes, that possibility is real. And in tournament football, sometimes belief changes everything. Now settle the argument. Are football fans underrating America, or are US fans completely delusional? Could the USMNT actually shock the world in 2026? Or is this entire conversation crazy? Drop your prediction below. And be honest, How far do you think America goes?